All right, we are live. This is 2 for Tuesday, and thank you again for joining us tonight here at Safe Surfin. We are always trying to find ways to better educate and equip you with tips to help safeguard both you and your family on staying safe on the internet. And tonight we are going to talk about child predators and who's talking to your kids in the chat. Like, do you absolutely know who they're talking to? Do your kids actually know who is on the other end? I'm Mo McClanahan, and I am the Director for Training and Education with the Safe Surfin Foundation. And I recently retired after 20 years in law enforcement, working internet crimes against children for the last 8.5 years. And part of my job was to work both proactive and reactive cases, meaning proactive being undercover chat investigations where I would pose as a child online, and my mission was to intercept the predators before they got to the real kids and the real victims. And also for reactive, I worked cases that came from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, dealing with cyber tips, so anonymous tips that were being created by users online of suspect engagement and people just being inappropriate online. And there's a anonymous way that you can make those reports. And so another part of my job was also to educate the community and the children in the schools on how to be safe online. Here at Safe Surfin, that's exactly what we continue to do, and we are just always trying to find ways to reach more people. So if you're here tonight, make sure you share this with others. If you have questions, then please drop them in the comments, or if later on you want to send us a direct message, then please feel free to do that, and we will get a response back to you. So again, we're going to talk about these child predators and how they're really utilizing clever tactics to get to your kids. Ironically, I had made a post in our Instagram account in reference to a case that took place here in Virginia where a man was sentenced to 31 years posing as a juvenile online and creating these relationships with both preteen and teen kids, and then eventually manipulating them and coercing them to conduct or to take pictures and videos of them in sexual manners. And this went on for several years before he was identified, recently charged, and sentenced. And most of the time, kids have no idea who they're talking to online. And these predators actually exchange tips on how to act more like a kid, on what things to talk about when engaging with children, and really figuring out ways to find their vulnerabilities in order to develop this relationship or really create trust with the child. So I had created that post to talk about this case, to say it is going on, and to really raise awareness inside of your home to make sure that you're checking your child's device and that you're having these ongoing conversations about who they're talking to online or what they're using their devices for, what platforms they're on, and if they've made new friends. And after creating this post, I actually had several parents message me. Some hadn't seen the post, some had. And so they were concerned on, what should I do? I believe my child is talking to somebody who raises suspicion. And I always tell a parent, trust your instincts. Like, if you think that there is something suspicious about that person, you're most likely correct. And you should feel comfortable with who your child is talking to and who they're engaging with. So I always say, do some research. If it feels uncomfortable, then you need to end that relationship or really determine what all has been going on. Another one had reported that they definitely felt like the conversation was adult in nature with their child, and we told them, make sure to create a cyber tip to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and you can go to missingkids.org to find that cyber tip report where you can enter in whatever information that you have on that account. And really what that does is it helps speed up the process of making sure whatever platform they're on, that it gets preserved and that everything gets captured once National Center gets that information. And then call local law enforcement. Not every department is equipped to work some of these cases, but they all know that it's against the law for an adult to be soliciting a child online, and they are learning every day about what to look for, especially if these are cases that they're not working all the time. But they definitely have the investigative skills to determine that it's most likely not a child and the engagement is criminal in nature. So once they create this report, then that really gets the investigation started. Now, a lot of family members are asking, why should we report it? Like, will my child get in trouble if they had been, going back and forth inside the conversation and maybe they're talking sexual in nature as well? And I'm here to tell you that in cases like this, the child is always the victim. Children are not held to a standard to, one, understand the consequences when it comes to these cases and this type of engagement. And so they will be treated as a victim. And some states do have the laws or the code sections actually state that the child could get in trouble based on taking naked images, but if an adult is actually requesting them, then it kind of releases them from that type of criminal activity or any kind of consequences against them. So always make the report, because I can tell you, if your child is being approached, then it's likely that at least 150 to 300 other children have been victimized by this predator. The case that we spoke about that occurred here in Virginia between the years of 2016 and 2020, he only had 13 victims, but those are the only 13 that were identified. But I can tell you that through studies and through working these investigations, the average is 150 to 300. And considering that the guy in Virginia had 4 years to be manipulating and coercing children, then I would guarantee that that number is higher if there was more evidence to suggest that. Another thing to think about is, I have a parent that said, I really hate to end the relationship. Well, as a parent, they want to end the relationship, but they hate that their child really has developed this relationship and that they're not quite understanding the consequences. And that's what really works against us when it comes to these child predators. They literally get in there, they earn the trust, they use flattery, which I have talked about grooming techniques in another video. So make sure you check out our blog and our video series on YouTube. You can go to safesurfin.org and find all the resources there. But once we are having these conversations and telling our children about what these grooming techniques look like, we can really set them up to better safeguard themselves and make the choice to not talk to strangers. That's really the bottom line, is making sure that they're not talking to people that they've never met in person. There are so many different bad actors out there that really pretend to be your child's friend, and they will manipulate them any way that they can in order to victimize them. And then sometimes it leads into luring them out of the home or having them really commit sexual crimes against either younger siblings or other family members. So there's so many different dangers surrounding the idea that your child is talking to a stranger, and really just starting with those conversations that are not easy to have. I covered some of those in another video, some of those conversation starters for different age groups, and continue to have them on a regular basis. And then we always encourage to check their devices on, at least once a week, and making sure that you're seeing what's going on, you're being very proactive to see what's going on. And also, if you haven't already, invest in a monitoring app, because even though you're checking that device on the regular basis, they know you're going to check, and kids still want to be sneaky in some way. And so having that monitoring app really helps you to track what's going on in real time. So instead of waiting until you see the device on a Wednesday night and seeing a conversation that happened on Saturday and maybe only catching bits and pieces of it, if you had a monitoring app, then maybe it would capture the whole conversation as it started on Saturday, and you could end it before it got too in depth, where the child starts trusting the other person. A lot of people ask me, what kind of monitoring app? Which ones do I recommend? And there's several out on the market. You really need to do some research to see what's best for your family. I'm a very strong advocate for Bark, B-A-R-K. They have really stepped up their game and are always trying to figure out ways to better monitor not only the pictures that are coming through, but the grooming text messages, like grooming language that's coming through, and then they flag it. And it always depends on which apps that your children are using, and the predators are always trying to figure out a runaround through that to try a different app. So if you see a new app on your child's phone and you have questions, look, research it, ask them, what are you using this app for? Another monitoring system is the Net Nanny. They have been around for a long time. And then a third one is Life 360. That's a really great one too. So again, you just research it, see which one will really fit into your lifestyle and what kind of devices that you're really trying to monitor, and then see which one will best fit all of those devices. Again, thanks for joining me for 2 for Tuesday. I hope you walked away with more than just 2 tips. I try to keep it to the minimum so you can walk away, apply these tips at the very beginning, and that these are something easy so you can share with your friends, and that you already feel more in control of safeguarding your kids when you leave this broadcast. Again, I hope you have an amazing Tuesday, and join me here next week, 8 p.m. EST, for another 2 for Tuesday. Have a great night.